The Maga Divide, I'm talking about it with my guest, David Pollack. You can find him on X at David Pollack USA. He's a political commentator. He's a good one, host of the David Pollack Show. You'll be catching him or you can catch him on occasion on OAN, filling in for some big names there. He was a colleague of mine locally on Salem, Orlando. It was obvious to me that he was going to go places, and he is. But he's also just a fun guy to talk to about politics. So, David Pollack, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show.
Man, it is my honor to be here for so many years of begging to come on your show. Begging. Emails, phone calls, love letters, begging. And now here I am on the Carl Jackson Show, doing it big.
The funny thing is, David, it's never a slight. People just realize that I'm not great at answering emails.
Yeah,
I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So we got to talk about this MAGA divide. You had some opinions. I have some opinions. There's a lot of things that have transpired, and particularly since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, our former colleague, as a matter of fact, David. And so I want to get into this. I just want to get your initial thoughts on a lot of the divides that we're seeing. You see a rise of anti-Semitism that has popped up on the right. You see a lot of people on the right that don't like Donald Trump's foreign policy. I, for one, love it. I don't care if people call me a neocon. I don't give a flip. I think what he's doing is great for America. And so we can talk about that. The Epstein files. Just so much to get to when it comes to this MAGA divide. Obviously, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes controversy, Kevin Roberts of the Daily Signal chimed in when he should have just shut his pie hole. I just think that was a disservice to the Heritage Foundation, even though I understood what he was trying to do. I just think it was a mistake on his part. Now, having said that, let's go to you. Your thoughts.
Man, you got all the topics, like all of them. Because, yeah, I mean, that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with all of that. I mean, whether it's the Tucker, Nick Fuentes, whether it's Epstein, whether it's the drama in Washington. I mean, I can't imagine how we'll talk about why. But could you imagine? We have the House, we have the Senate, we have Donald Trump in the White House. He's had the most productive, successful 10 months probably in U.S. presidential history. And yet there's this much dysfunction in the country. I mean, there's only one good explanation for it, and I've been saying it on social media, and we could dive deep into what's really going on. But and you and I talked about this offline before we came on. You and I both predicted this was going to happen. You and I think, both agree. We just thought it would happen a little bit later. It's happening earlier than we thought. I thought this would be around 2026 when the Republican establishment would finally just abandon Donald Trump because they've been trying to get away from him since 2016. But it's all coming to a head prematurely. The battlefield is real and the lines are drawn. And whether it's Epstein, whether it's the rise in anti-Semitism, whether it's Israel, I mean, you literally can't turn a corner and find another controversy. It seems to be dividing MAGA. So, Carl, I don't know what's going on. I kind of know what's going on. I just think we need to figure out who our friends are, who our enemies are. And I use your line all the time when I have these discussions when they're like, well, this person's a rhino, that person's a rhino. And I use your line. You know what line that is, right? They're not rhinos. What are they?
They're Republicans.
They're Republicans. That's exactly right. We're rhinos. We're the ones who are forced into the Republican Party. We're America first. I mean, we're MAGA guys. I don't even know what MAGA means anymore. Here's what I know.
Man.
I know that for my entire lifetime, presidents came and went. Democrats, Republicans, nothing changed for us, right? 2016 comes, Donald Trump takes power from the people behind him, Democrats, Republicans, gives it back to us, and he's been at war with the deep state, with the establishments, with the world, with the global order, with all of it ever since. And we're seeing that play out right now. They're trying to rid themselves of Donald Trump's influence going into 26 and 28. And I believe they'd rather burn it down than let Donald Trump's legacy decide the next president and even control of the House and Senate.
Now, you're speaking of the establishment. You think they'd rather see Donald Trump's legacy, and I can see that. Let me throw something into the mix, and I want to get your take on this. I tend to believe, and I hope that I'm wrong, and I'm reading stuff about J.D. Vance. I like J.D. Vance. Apparently, he's going to be the heir apparent of MAGA. I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with that. I think people are a little quick to the draw. I could be wrong on that. I'm just not one of these people. I don't want to do what Democrats did with Kamala Harris. I don't care if I don't want to go that route. But here's the reason why I say that. I've got a sneaky suspicion, except from a miracle from God, that MAGA dies with Trump. And I don't necessarily mean people believing and fighting against the establishment, or, fighting for new things and new ways in which Donald Trump introduced a bunch of different ideas that he wasn't afraid to take on in different ways. But I think where a lot of conservatives miss it, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there's only one Donald Trump. And this guy has created a coalition like nobody's business, a coalition that has not existed since Ronald Reagan. And I think conservatives, I think the establishment is a problem. But I also think the only person capable of holding MAGA together is Donald Trump. I also think the only person, at least for now, well, at least, sad to say, he's now gone, Charlie Kirk. I almost felt like he was the glue that held a lot of these factions together. And I think that's going to be hard. I think that's going to be hard to kind of piece back together, except for the economy. Because I think in the end, it comes down to the economy, stupid. What say you?
I agree with you. The economy is everything. Briefly on the economy 2 Tuesdays ago, I think we lost that election. When I say we, the Republicans, I believe it didn't come close because Republicans forgot how to message. Anytime Donald Trump's not at the top of the ballot, Republicans don't know how to message. Donald Trump knows how to message and everybody benefits. Republicans don't. When Democrats are talking about affordability, when their policies cause things to be unaffordable, we're losing on messaging. But I don't want to get off the topic real quick.
Wait, hold on, though, David, because this is a very important point. I'm actually glad you went there because I think this is important. So don't forget your thought or where you were going.
Sure.
But I've been saying this exact same thing. I literally got in a conversation with a gentleman just the other day, and he was like, no, it would have happened that way anyway. And I'm like, yeah, I think Democrats would have won. There's no doubt about it. I don't think they would have won in the same numbers because I've been reading stuff where people are like, listen, I voted for Trump, but things aren't affordable. And I haven't heard Republicans explaining that, hey, guys, we're actually still technically living under the Biden's economic policies. That stuff is going to flip. Here's what we're working on. I have not heard the messaging, and it can't just be about the messaging. People have got to feel tangible stuff, and they're starting to feel it, but they've got to feel more. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I think it's important. Republicans can't ignore this stuff. It's just a blue state. Okay, I want to win some blue states too.
Well, let's stay on this topic because it does lead into what I wanted to say before, and it has to do with Turning Point, Charlie Kirk's legacy. And we'll get to that probably after the break if we run out of time on this topic. But this is very important. I agree with you because look at me hosting, by the way. I'm seeing the clock. I'm pitching the break. I'm leading it. I'm making the audience excited to stick around.
That makes for a good guess.
But look, let me tell you this with the economy, because if you look at the counties, places like New Jersey, when they thought Ciattarelli would win, by the way, and Spadia was a more MAGA candidate than Ciattarelli ever was. Ciattarelli was never Trump, but Trump endorsed Ciattarelli. And I don't know why. I understand why, but I don't know why. Same thing with people like Lindsey Graham. I don't know why Trump endorses some of these folks, but I do know why. He's trying to build the coalition. He thought Ciattarelli would win. He didn't want to have an enemy if he endorses Spadia and Ciattarelli still wins. I get all that inside baseball. But if you look at the counties where Ciattarelli lost, these are places where Trump won. The Hispanic vote completely flipped back to Democrat in the New Jersey mayor's race, which is why they thought the polling was closer, is because they assumed that all the counties and places where Trump won, they thought Ciattarelli would just get those places. But guess what? And this is what Republicans have to learn the hard way. Just because a Democrat, a Hispanic, somebody in the black community, just because one of these folks voted for Trump doesn't mean they vote Republican. Trump has never been elected because he's Republican. Trump is elected because he speaks to people in the way they're not used to being spoken to, that he understands what their pains are. Even though he's a billionaire, he understands what it's like in middle America and some of these factories closing and the coal mines. He speaks to people and he understands them. Republicans don't. And so just assuming that just because somebody voted for Trump, they're automatically going to vote for a Republican, that couldn't be further from the truth. And we see that every time Trump isn't on a ballot. And we saw it 2 Tuesdays ago. New Jersey wasn't even close. Virginia was a red state, flipped completely blue, including an attorney general who threatened to murder people. And then you look in New York, it was over 51% voted for a communist. This is the issue going into 2026. If Republicans don't learn how Trump was successful, and it wasn't because they were just Republican, they're going to lose, and badly. And I'll throw it back to you on that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I'm glad you said it. You know, what's crazy is I was sitting here listening to you, and I was like, doggone it, I should have had him on a couple of weeks ago to talk about this. But nonetheless, I think it's still important. Obviously, we have listen. Let's be frank. If Trump loses the midterms, his presidency is over. It's as simple as that. And so Republicans have got to get stuff done. They have to get on message. They have to focus. They have to work on bringing down costs. They have to work on affordability. I mean, I'm sorry. I just think that if there was better messaging, even in New York City, we wouldn't have a Mamdani. We wouldn't have a communist getting ready to become the mayor of New York City. It's absolutely insane. Republicans absolutely drive me nuts. It's probably why I'm bald now. More on the other side. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here for MyPillow. A major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. Now it's your game. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. You get the standard MyPillow for just $17.98. If you want more, upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for just $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call 800-858-0263. All right. Plus, when you order totals $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. No strings attached. That's right. Premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it all off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com right now or call 800-858-0263. And don't forget to use the promo code Carl, CARL, to grab your standard MyPillow for just $17.98. That is insane. Can't beat that with a bat. All right, again, I'm speaking with my guest, David Pollack, host of the David Pollack Show. Find him on X at David Pollack USA. That's POLLACK. Okay, you were talking about Turning Point. Let's go ahead and let's go back to the original reason why I brought you on the program here, David. But honestly, I think we just communicate so well together. I loved what you had to say in the last segment because I think Republicans sincerely need to hear it. I am tired of them denying reality. Even if we lose these races, we need to put a message out there and we can bring these races tighter. Not only that, if we lose, that's fine. We're going to lose some races, but we can go back. We can set a narrative in place. And then when Mamdani and whoever fails in these blue states, blue cities, we can say, I told you so. Now here are my policies. Let me reintroduce them. These will work because the Democrats' policies, the socialist policies, the communist policies have failed. Now, all right, let me shut up, David, because we only have about 10 minutes to get to the Maga Divide. You were talking about Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, in the last segment. What say you?
Well, look, and I'm going to give you some hope here. And look, I think our policies are there, right? Republicans just don't know how to articulate them. What we also lack, though, we might win on the policies and we might lack on articulation from the Republicans. But what we also have is tremendous emotion and energy. Democrats always win on organizing the folks with tremendous energy. But look at Charlie Kirk's rallies, by the way. They were never as big as they were until after his death. Now, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk's events and his influence wasn't big, but look how big they are now. They're at Madison Square Garden filling the place up.
Right.
Turning Point would have never been that big, so you got to trust God's plan, right? But knowing that, the enthusiasm is there. We have the youth, and we're winning on Christianity. We're winning on policies. We're winning on emotion. We're winning on taking the country back. We're winning on anti-woke. All the things Trump ran on, all the things Trump got people excited about. And Republicans, all they have to do is look at Turning Point and look at Trump and then articulate the policies and capture the energy of Trump and Turning Point, and we'll have rallies like that again. But that is the roadmap, Carl. We have to look at Turning Point. We have to look at Trump and see what is it that young people are inspired by. What is it that communities that ordinarily don't vote Republican, what are they inspired by? Bottle that up and give it to the politicians, but I don't think they want it because I think what they want to rid themselves of Trump. And this is what we'll talk about right now, because now I'm even segueing, Carl. Because here's the issue. When you have an establishment that honestly wishes Trump was a lame duck, they wish he wasn't as productive. I believe this. They wish he wasn't as productive as he is. He wishes he wasn't getting so many peace deals done. Trump, in spite of them wishing he would just be one and done in these 4 years, wait him out and get back to this establishment that they've been really missing since 2016. The problem is Trump's not going away. And this is really the issue. They have to decide. Republicans have to decide. Do they want to win? Do they want to have conservative Republican policies be the thing that governs our country towards keeping America great in our golden age as Trump has promised? Or would they rather go back to the way things were when nobody really cared about politics? I think that's what they'd rather have. They want low turnout. They don't want people paying attention to what they do. They want to be able to go to Washington, eat their steak dinners, vote how they vote, and nobody pays attention. Those were the good old days for the DC fat cats. And this is what I think they're trying to get away from, Carl. That's what I think all these conspiracies are rooted in, is they see an opening. They see a way to distance themselves from Trump and any of his heir apparents, like you mentioned, because no matter what happens with Epstein, the goalpost is going to move. They're going to say, oh, well, these documents are redacted. Oh, well, why isn't there more lawsuits? Oh, they're never going to be happy. This is what Trump's talking about, the hoax. The hoax is no matter what he releases, they're always going to bring this up. They're always going to make it seem like Trump did something wrong. But hey, breaking news that your audience probably isn't being shown by the fake news media. All of the newest releases, all the emails show that all of this Epstein stuff was specifically designed to hurt Trump. It's out there for everybody to see. Now I'm hoping we can move on and go back to winning so we can save this country in 2026. Because I think you're right. If we lose 2026, we are done because nothing will get done at that point forward. It'll be nothing but chaos. And I really worry about the nuclear option and the Democrats using it and putting voter rights acts and all kinds of things that will make it so we never win again.
You know what? You remind me of something, or a couple of things popped up when you were speaking. What Trump has, it's kind of like a Bible. Trump is like a Bible to Republicans. What do I mean by that? I mean, he's a mirror. So when Republicans look at him, I don't even agree with all of Trump's policies. I love the vast majority of his policies, but I don't agree with all of them. For one, I'm a free market capitalist. I'm a free market trader. I don't necessarily like tariffs, but I like the way Trump implemented his tariffs. But I also said, listen, Trump, I think you need to do this in 6 months or you'll lose people. I literally said that on air. Because people just get queasy. And I knew that a lot of conservatives were feeding a bunch of fluff and all this kind of nonsense. And I'm like, listen, this is going to be painful, but this is going to establish free and fair trade. This is going to put America back on better footing. But as soon as possible, you need to get to cutting those taxes because Americans are fickle. It's as simple as that. Having said that, he serves as a mirror to the Republican Party. It's really simple. I think you're right. I think they see Trump, they see everything that he's getting done. Now Americans are like, oh my goodness, what we need is somebody like this. We need you may not even agree with all of Trump's policies, but you're like, man, this guy has a backbone. This guy has conviction. There's no conviction. You can't convince me of this. There's no conviction in the Republican Party. And that's what Trump brings to the Republican Party beyond his spine. Beyond the courage, it is conviction. Now, having said that, let me get your take on this because we only got 4 minutes left. So part of my feeling with Tucker Carlson and these players, and listen, I got to tell you, Tucker Carlson is one of the premier journalists out there. I totally disagree. Just me on where he's gone. I think a lot of this stuff is clickbait. I think a lot of this stuff is bitterness and anger that he has in his heart. I've heard him admit somewhat at Charlie Kirk's memorial or what have you, that he harbors some bitterness. But there's something else that I'm concerned about, and I saw this all along, and I believe this all along, even with Tucker. I saw Tucker cozying up to Trump after I knew that Tucker Carlson couldn't stand Trump initially, and I was like, what's going on here? And the only thing that came to mind is eventually what's going to happen is these people are going to try to co-opt the MAGA movement because Trump obviously is term limited. And frankly, I think that's what you see in a lot of these movements, these para movements, if you will, these proxy movements, if you will, that are popping up on the right. And so I do agree with you. I feel like Charlie Kirk held a lot of these factions together by bringing them in his camp and having all of these debates. I do agree with you that Charlie Kirk's messages. Frankly, I didn't even know how influential, I got to be honest with you, David, how influential Charlie Kirk was until after his passing. And I knew he was extremely influential. I didn't know he was that influential. I mean, just absolutely amazing. But I listened to some of his videos where he was talking about affordability when it came to housing and all this kind of stuff, where he was talking to the young people about how to bring down prices. Socialism sucks, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, this, you're right. That's a winning message for Republicans if they would actually take it on. But all of this stuff, frankly, I think Republicans need a strong leader like Trump. And all this Epstein nonsense, frankly, listen, guys, I'm not saying the victims. I don't want to cast any shade on the victims. I just hate the way this is being played as a political game. Frankly, I hate what Marjorie Taylor Greene has done with this. I hate the anti-Semitism that I see popping up on the right. I'm sorry. I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ is king. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. That's my worldview. I believe that my God is a Jewish carpenter. So I can't stand the anti-Semitism popping up on the right, but it's there. And it is disconcerting, David, because we got to glue these factions back together, where we've got to believe in America, the American dream. And it's going to be a hard hold to do that.
No, look, I'm gonna say in 1 minute what I need about 20 minutes to say. And that's first, if I've been a Turning Point ambassador for about a year now, and every Turning Point event I go to, I know how powerful Charlie Kirk's events are. The young people, the energy, it's bigger than anything I've ever seen, and I'm proud to continue to support that organization. But let me say this. What you're seeing now between the anti-Semitism, the Tucker thing with Nick Fuentes and all this stuff, and yeah, look, I think Tucker can interview anybody he wants. We shouldn't tell journalists who they can and can't talk to. That's not how we operate. You can agree or disagree with the people they're interviewing or their positions, but you don't shut people up. That's what the other side does. So I'm fine with the conversations. The things that worry me, there's a difference between objecting to giving foreign aid to other countries, including Israel. There's a difference between objecting to the Israeli government or the way they conduct war, and then lumping all Jews into it, like as if every Jew is Israeli. And this is the slippery slope. It seems that Jews in general are now being targeted. And that's what a lot of people are highlighting, is that this concern about our relationship with Israel and tying in Epstein and all these conspiracy theories is that they're lumping Jews into that as well. And that's damaging and it's destructive. And on Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie and all these folks that might be shifting away from Trump, look, MAGA has always been an opportunistic position for politicians, but MAGA has never belonged to the politicians. It belongs to the people. So when politicians see an opening to perhaps take a different position, if it's politically expedient, they take it. We're not surprised by this. We saw this in 2020. We saw this after the 2022 midterms. So where I'm at is, look, we own MAGA, and it's up to us to carry that energy forward. You're right, Trump is going to be the only Trump, but we can find better candidates. And the ones that are out there, possibly J.D. Vance, are going to be the only guy, are not going to be the guy. So we got to keep looking and get better Republican candidates, Carl.
All right. Sounds good to me. The man knows what he's talking about. The David Pollack Show at David Pollack USA is where you can go to find him. David, appreciate you coming on. And man, we got to get you back on soon. This was fun.